कि मेरा घर कौन सा है. But not being controversial, no matter how much I try, I'm never going to be considered as a typical British. Trying to take those babies away from that mother, it's the hardest job of my life.
आप वहाँ पे 10 पाउंड खर्च करो तो डबल रोटी नहीं आती आप लोग राइट
नहीं
वो 10 पाउंड यहाँ करो आपका हफ्ता गुजर जाता है.
81% of the people that have been locked up for sexual offences are white. If ever you were to raise to the top and you dropped to the bottom, you would have no shame in cleaning people's rubbish again.
Brilliant.
And that was the biggest lesson for me. एक बच्ची को या बच्चे को अपनी माँ से जुदा करना जो एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकती कि उसकी वजह से वो बच्ची या बच्चा मर गया है, is the hardest thing. The problem is not the kids, it's the parents, it's the guardians.
Right. यार आपका जो करियर है ना, मुझे लगता है कि इसके ऊपर कोई नेटफ्लिक्स की सीरीज भी बन सकती है.
Really?
So how do you introduce yourself? कब कहीं जाते हैं किसी की तरफ जहाँ पे लोग आपको नहीं जानते कि आप नुमान हैं, नुमान कौन है, किसी डिनर पार्टी पे चले गए. How do you introduce yourself?
You know, just like anyone else, Nauman.
That's it?
And that's it.
What do you do type of thing? I know what you do, obviously, right? And when I mention a Netflix series, I'm talking about somebody, you know, जो कि police वाला बंदा था, and you know he left that and he went and he got into this and then he got pulled back into this, something of an action hero sort of a thing. So you seem on paper, you seem like an action hero. Are you an action hero in real life?
You know what? The movies are different to real life. Bilkul totally different.
So that is true then.
Yeah, it's true. It's nothing like it. You know, yes, you do get those scenes where you're in action and you're like Tom Cruise scenes from Mission Impossible and you're making very far in between in your career. And it's interesting now.
कभी real life में car chase हुआ है आपके साथ? कभी किया?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
You've chased down criminals.
Oh,
that's amazing, man.
I mean, we've chased criminals. We've actually held up criminals. We've fought with criminals. You know, physical altercations. Right. You know, smacks and all that stuff. And mega bhi ghar aaye ho and I'm all bruised up. And my wife cries, my mother cries. सारे मतलब के मातम बना रहे होते हैं यार कि तुम्हें क्या हो गया. But it was part of my job.
Manchester Police.
Yeah, I mean counter-terrorists as well. Yeah. So both. And it was just part of the job. You just get on with it. And you know, I've come home with blood-stained clothes.
No way.
And you just chuck them into the bin. Put them in a black bin liner, get a new uniform or a new set of clothes and chuck them in the bin.
So Hollywood really hasn't missed the mark with this persona, this profile of an action hero who's...
No. I mean, the thing is, they, with Hollywood or Bollywood even to the extent, उनको ना 2.5 घंटे में या 1.5 घंटे में they have to fit all of it in. So it makes it very interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas our life...
But obviously downtime hota
hai. Yeah, it goes on for months and years. And
right.
they put all that months and years work into that 90 minutes or 120 minutes of video clip. So it makes it more interesting. But it's not. A lot of the times you're sitting around and investigation and paperwork.
Literally twiddling thumbs and paperwork. And
no, you don't do twiddling thumbs. It's paperwork. Paperwork is rigorous. I mean, especially in the UK. अगर आप UK में देखो ना, there's a lot of paperwork. You even when you withdraw your pistol, there's paperwork for it.
Of course.
You know, you can't just...
Pistols होते भी हैं वहाँ पे तो baton वाली नहीं.
Yeah, so some officers would be carrying batons, or majority of them would be carrying batons, and अब tasers आ गए. Commonly tasers, routine police के पास है. But you got firearms, and then you got the coverts who basically carry weapons.
Of course,
covertly.
Covert में तो आपको.
So you do carry now and again.
So Nauman, tell me about your childhood. कहाँ पे brought up किधर हुआ आपका? आप UK में थे, Pakistan में थे. Tell me your story.
No, I mean I'll tell you now. I was born in Karachi,
right.
So I'm a Karachi born and bred. But when I say bred, I've spent 2-3 years of my life, 4 years maybe in Karachi.
Right.
You know, हमारे भाई लोग के बीच में kind of thing. But my mum was a British. She was born and bred in Britain, but when she married my father, she moved to Pakistan.
Right.
My father had a good business in Karachi, alongside my maternal grandfather, had a trucking business. So they decided to stay in Pakistan. But shortly after I was born, 3-4 years maybe, they decided to move to UK. So since then, I've been in the UK.
So do you, in your heart, do you feel like आप British हो या Pakistani हो?
You know, it's an interesting question. And I asked that myself several times, probably a year, thinking, who am I? And it's very hard to answer because
still haven't figured it out.
No, I think it's one of those things you can never figure out.
Yeah.
Because I was born here, so कहते हैं ना मिट्टी यहाँ की है. I've made with this mitti here in Pakistan, but I've spent all my life in the UK and I've served the UK all my life. So it's very hard to differentiate कि मेरा घर कौन सा है. But not being controversial, no matter how much I try, I'm never going to be considered as a typical British. You know what you say?
A typical British.
Yeah,
controversial.
Again, it's very controversial. I said to you, okay, we'll probably get controversial. But, when I say British to you, you don't see me. And I can vouch for that.
This is a reality of our lives. And I think we should just own this fact. कि हम लोग, कुछ different तो ज़रूर है. But nationality होना या कहीं का brought up होना, does that make you of that land? I think
it's one of those questions, and I don't think it's going to be ever.
One answer cannot fit all, I suppose. To each their own sort of a thing, right? Because I know a lot of people who've practically disowned their origins, their heritage, and from changing their names to their habits, disowning their families in Pakistan. A lot of people have just left. Yeah. So you haven't left. You haven't left the UK. You haven't left Pakistan. You're still oscillating between. So many places on.
We met 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And obviously we kept in touch since then. And when I came here 20 years ago, and I could fit in with both. We had the British, people working there. Then we had the Pakistani local staff working there. And I found myself in between both. And I found that very interesting and very comforting. कि मैं इनसे भी बात कर सकता हूँ और I can liaise with these guys as well. And I think it's one of those things where I think the question to you, answer to your question is कि if you can adjust, yes we can. But who are we? If I ask the same question to you, I think you'll probably think about it for a few seconds as well before you answer it. तुम कौन हो?
यार actually मेरे लिए तो बड़ा आसान है ये चीज़ बताना.
अच्छा?
मैं पाकिस्तानी हूँ भाई.
ठीक है.
मेरे पास तो कोई second nationality नहीं है, ना मेरा कोई पाकिस्तान से बाहर मेरा home है. Yes, of course I've spent a lot of time like abroad, particularly in England. So I call that my second home. Yes, but I'm still very naturally a Pakistani. Yeah. So are my kids. Yeah. तो मुझे ऐसी कोई confusion नहीं है कि मैं कौन हूँ.
I mean, if I was to break it down, अगर मैं बोलूँ कि यार आप पठान हो या सिंधी हो या पंजाबी हो या फेडरल के हो,
That is where it gets tricky because मेरा ताल्लुक origin is from Azad Kashmir. So मैं आज़ाद कश्मीर और पाकिस्तान के बीच में अपनी जो identity है उसमें मैं confused ज़रूर रहता हूँ. So I know what you mean there.
And I'm similar then because I'm confused not in provincial boundaries, but I'm more confused between international boundaries. So that's the difference basically.
But you're also keeping both of your bases secure. आपका जो भी जो engagements and it keeps you busy and you travel the world all the time. So tell me something about your career. Where did you start? What was your first job and how did you get into the police and?
Right. I mean, my first job, if you were going to ask me my first job was a cleaning.
Yeah.
And I remember this कि मैं school में था ना तो 16 साल का था. I did my GCSEs and my friends were saying we're going to get a job over summer and this and that. So my dad, when he came to the UK, he was a labourer. He sold his business, but he was not as literate as other fathers and stuff. So he was a labourer. तो he had no businesses. So my friends कहते थे ना हम लोग जाके अपने वाले साहब के business office में काम करेंगे, हम ऐसे restaurant में काम करेंगे ऐसे. And I was thinking मैं क्या करूँगा? मेरे वाले साहब खुद labourer है, खुद he works for someone else. So I said to him, I want to work. And he said, okay, go. Go and do what you want to do. All right? Only for summer. मैंने किया, I want CVs everywhere. मैं CV जल्दी बनाई कि, there's nothing to put on the CV. I've only done my GCSEs. I've got.
How old were you at that time?
16.
16, right?
Yeah. And I got a job in the cinemas. And I came home and I'm like excited. I've got a job in the cinema and blah. And my perception was I'm going to spend all day, all shift watching movies.
Watching movies, not cleaning up after.
Well, exactly. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
On the first day I got there,
reality check.
And they gave me a black bin liner, mop दिया और broomstick दी और कहते वो सिनेमा खाली है उसको जाके साफ करो. And I'm देख रहा हूँ यार मैंने घर में कभी इतना नहीं किया, बर्तन जाके किचन तक रखे हैं या कभी वो तो धो दिए and that's it. झाड़ू तो मैंने कभी मारा नहीं है. What am I doing here? Anyway, I did it and I came home. I told my dad and he goes, how was your first day? मैंने कहा ठीक था, उन्होंने मुझे झाड़ू दे दिया ये करने के लिए. और then what happened was that I said to him, Baba, I don't feel comfortable. You know, and you know, he all he did was he just went like this with his feet and looked at his shoe, and I crapped my pants, and I think, whoa, have I said something wrong here? Anyway, I went to my mum in the kitchen and I said, Mum, I've said this to Dad, I don't want to do it, and he's like, oh no, you know, I'm not getting involved. For 2 years, part-time, whilst I was at college, he made me do that job. And after 2 years, when I was about to go to uni, he sat me down, and I was about to go to work, again, the same job. And he sat me down, he goes, no, you're not going. I said, what's going on here now? For 2 years, he made me do it, and all of a sudden, you won't want me to do it. And कहते नहीं तुम नहीं जाओगे. मैंने कहा क्यों? कहते हैं यार कि कुछ सीखा तुमने?
Lesson learned.
लेकिन मैंने ये नहीं सोचा क्या बोल रहे हैं. मैंने कहा lesson learned क्या lesson है इसमें? तो कहते हैं कि यार मैंने कहा हाँ कहते क्या सीखा? मैंने कहा यार हाँ कचरा कैसे उठाते हैं, मॉप कैसे करते हैं, वॉशरूम कैसे धोते हैं, ये मैंने बड़ा सीखा.
फिल्म कितने देर में खत्म होती है, कितना टाइम चाहिए, मैं
कितनी देर में मैं साफ कर सकता हूँ, बड़ी स्क्रीन है ये.
But of course you were getting to learn so much more, man, about life.
Absolutely.
Obviously you were 16, 17 at that time, you couldn't figure out, but your father had a vision. He knew that he was getting you the right education, you in the right environment where you were going to thrive, but he wanted you to start from the literal bottom of the food chain.
Yes.
So when you get up on top, like you are right now, you would appreciate where you've come from. You would have this understanding of people from different walks of life, have more empathy, and it kind of breaks your ego as well. So I bet it did.
Bullseye, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And he said, you've cleaned other people's rubbish. That's the bottom of the lane that you can get to, cleaning other people's rubbish. And since then, that hit me. And I think, yes. He goes, now, if ever you were to raise to the top and you dropped to the bottom, you would have no shame in cleaning people's rubbish again.
Brilliant.
And that was the biggest lesson for me. And since then, I never look back. And even to this day, if we have an issue in my office, although I've got staff, IT and everything, and there's a wiring issue, I'll get underneath the table myself. और जाके लोगों के डेस्क के नीचे आके तारे जोड़ना शुरू कर दूंगा. And they're like, CEO, आप क्या कर रहे हो? I'm like, क्या हो गया यार? तारे जोड़नी है ना. And that's the thing he taught me. कि यार, you can do it.
The most valuable lesson of the
month. Absolutely. My life.
So where do you feel कि यार, okay, ये हो गया. Then what happened? Where do you feel कि I'm beginning to find myself?
Yeah, so
what
I graduated.
I'm supposed to do?
So I graduated. So I wanted to become a pilot. मेरा पूरा था ambition pilot बनूंगा.
Right.
ठीक है? And again, the other thing it taught me about money as well. The concept of money. कि जितना earn किया उतना spend करो. And so I had a couple of offers after my A-levels from different airlines to come and do this. But they used to do a 50-50 split. So we pay 50, you pay 50%. And then once you come work for us, once you've qualified to become a pilot, commercial pilot, हम आपसे 50% salary से deduct करते रहेंगे जो हमने आपके ऊपर invest किया है. Once you've paid it off, then you're free to move.
Absolutely, brilliant.
But still, it was roughly around about 20, 30 pounds, £1,000 at that time that I had to invest. And I used to look at my mother and father and I was like, they're working hard. I can't put this burden on them. Okay, I know how hard it is to earn this money. They will, if I say I want to do it, they will. They'll find a way.
ये तो हाँ, parents कर लेते हैं.
And I didn't. So I hid the letters and I didn't tell my parents about it. And I hid them and I went into uni to do computer electronics engineering.
Right.
In my last year, there was fun fairs. उसमें फिर जाके मैंने CVs apply करनी शुरू कर दी, hundreds of applications fill करनी शुरू कर दिए. And before I knew it, I was in Pakistan with the British High Commission.
Right.
And so it was brilliant. And that again taught me very good valuable.
So that was
lessons.
basically your first.
That was my first proper job. That was my first proper job as a deputy head of visa registry.
That's crazy.
And yeah, it was brilliant. Again, it's just one of those things. I think I just ended up in the right spot at the right time. Saved some money here, and that's where I met yourselves. I made very good friends here. Very interesting times, and really, really enjoyed my time. When I went back, moved to the police force, and on the side, the money I saved while I was here, I invested in properties, derelict properties.
Smart.
So I bought a couple of derelict properties, and in the evening, me and my father would go and do them up. So I learned plastering, plumbing, electrician work, and just doing that ourselves. And then 6 months later, sold them, made a few grand, £1,000 money on it, bought couple of more properties, did the same with them. Alhamdulillah, then made a few portfolios. My uncle then came and invested with me, and interesting times. So I made my portfolio, my investment portfolio from there. And अच्छा time था.
Amazing. During your time with the Manchester police, anything that you can share with us? Any crazy incident, something that was off the charts in terms of wacky, crazy?
There's many. I mean, there's scenes where you would come home and you would cry, and you'd go in a shower and you would cry. And as a man, and as a guy who's actually protecting the streets, and because the first 2 years of your career as a police force in the UK, you have to spend it on the streets. There's they've introduced it now, but at that point there was no direct entry to the higher levels.
Right.
So you're a constable, you come at the bottom and you do it. So, and you would see scenes, and you would take babies that have died underneath the mother's arm whilst they were sleeping, because they took the babies right next to him in the bed, because baby chup nahi kar rahi thi, the mommy was tired, and they've died of lack of oxygen supply to the body. And
obviously nobody's fault, but it was just
so paramedics have turned up.
Sad.
Mothers can't accept the baby's died. They call the police for breach of the peace. Humne baby ko leke jana hai, ye leke jane nahi de rahi. Try to take those babies away from that mother. It's the hardest job of my life. I would say कि एक बच्ची को या बच्चे को अपनी माँ से जुदा करना जो एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर सकती कि उसकी वजह से वो बच्ची या बच्चा मर गया है, it's the hardest thing. And honestly, I come home and cry.
I can totally understand.
It was emotional.
I can relate.
But then you got scenes where you deliver babies in the police car, and you'd actually take escort. You see in movies and stuff where you'll escort a mother who's about to give birth to the hospital. And they give birth right at the bottom of right at the edge of the hospital. Blessings, you're covered in blood and mucus and everything, but that's a blessing. And you're thinking, wow, I've actually done this.
You couldn't feel that any other way.
No, and it's things that you see. You've seen kids that have been abused, and you've been seeing parents that have been abused, and fights. You get.
So is that what got you to quit, to leave, or was it something else?
I mean, I was in the uniform for 3 years, and after 3 years, I got approached by counter-terrorist unit, then that they want me to come on board, and I'm like, wow, and it was big deal, Still young in my career, 3 years in the Foreign Office at Russian Kitchen. I came back 3 years in the uniform corps, and all of a sudden I've been approached to go somewhere else now, which is a big deal, counter-terrorist unit. And that was probably again the highlight of my career. Again, we were talking about movies before.
Yeah.
A scene would happen, and they're bloody from Russia into America within the space of seconds, and they're fighting each other, and the uranium's being thrown around from each other. And I think
none of that happens. James Bond?
No, none of that happens. None of that.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, any of that. And because
it's
kind
of slow, but it's
years of work.
Slow burn.
Oh, it is. I mean, counter-terrorism. Terrorism itself. It's not a sudden action that someone decides, right, I'm going to cause.
There's a lot of planning.
There's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of hidden cells involved, and people are living their normal lives, and you would never ever suspect that this person.
It's a lot of surveillance and
it is
behind the scenes work and coordinations and this and that. Yeah?
And I would say UK is probably one of the best counter-terrorist units around. As you can imagine, they've not had many incidents in the UK because they are well ahead. They deal with it promptly. So it was quite an interesting career. But then I went into immigration. I took a career break and I went to Saudi to teach English at University of Dammam.
How did that come about?
All of a sudden, I just wanted this break. I just wanted
to
No. You know what? That's an interesting story. A very interesting story. And I won't mention the university itself. But when I got there, I was for 2 weeks. A bus will pick up from my apartment, hotel, drop me to the university, and I'll be walking around the university doing nothing.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not here for this. I'm not here for this. And फिर क्या हुआ कि 2 हफ्ते गुजरे, 2.5 हफ्ते गुजरे, 3 हफ्ते गुजरे, and I got frustrated. मैंने कहा ये क्या मजाक बनाया है यार? I'm not here for this. कि कभी students के साथ ping pong खेल रहा हूँ, table tennis खेल रहा हूँ, कभी snooker खेल रहा हूँ, and I'm getting paid for this. This is not what I want. And I've always been like, develop my career, सीखूं कुछ आगे जाऊं.
So you didn't do any teaching
at
all?
No, for 3 weeks, nothing. So I said I need a meeting with the dean. मैंने dean से meeting रखी, Saudi, right?
Right.
And I don't know what his qualifications were, but I don't think he was suitable to become a dean. Right. Like I said, I'm not naming anyone. Okay. But anyway, he sits there and he goes,
I hope he doesn't see this podcast.
Well, if he does, no one knows who he is. And
he knows who you are.
He knows who I am, yeah. But anyway, he's there, and in his accent, which I'm not going to try to imitate, because I probably won't make it. I won't make any justice to him. But he accused me to be a spy. Right. And I said, what? You think I'm a spy? He goes, yes, look at your CV. I'm like...
Right. Like, you figured it out, man. You're so smart.
Yeah, it's like, you're a dean, man. You should figure this out, right? I'm like, okay, I've got my CV here. Okay, so you worked in the diplomatic mission in Pakistan. Then you came to UK as a uniform officer. Then you came to the terrorist unit.
And now you're teaching English.
And now you come to Saudi, teach English. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you think James Bond will have a CV like this if he went undercover somewhere? And he looked at me and he goes, what? And I go, yeah. Do you really think if I came as an undercover,
obvious, huh?
I would make it so obvious that I'm undercover? I would actually say I was a teacher for the last 10 years. And that would be it.
That's it, yeah.
And
you
he
have a better cover story for sure.
Yeah, and I said, and he looks at me and he goes, and I think the penny fell. That, oh bugger, I've made a mistake here, right? And I just got up and I said, dude, if you're the dean of this university, I don't want to work here.
Maybe his name was Ilmdeen or something.
maybe.
You got the wrong guy.
I got the wrong guy. I got the wrong mistake.
But then did you actually start teaching them?
So I went to another university and I was taught there for about 8-9 months. Again, I think it wasn't for me. And I thought, no, this is too boring for me. This is too repetitious for me, and I can't be doing this.
Doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Same hour of the day, similar faces, similar activities. Yeah. That's not for you.
No, I need challenges.
Is that when you decided that you're a showman, that you should be like doing radio shows or hosting events, or what's up with that? Where did that come from?
Well, that was later.
Later, right?
That was later. I mean, I went back to the UK, got into immigration. Then after a couple of years in immigration, I thought I'm gonna do something myself.
Immigration. Let's just talk about immigration.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about how immigration to the UK has changed the course of UK. The whole future is now looking different to people there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are blaming Pakistanis for a lot of stuff that's happening there. With other nationalities, of course, but there's a lot of stuff happening around Pakistani immigrants in the UK right now. Did you ever feel any sort of like racism, anything to do with your skin color or your origin or your name or anything like that? Because first-hand experiences हुए वहाँ पे आपके?
Yeah, I mean, always. You do feel it. It does exist. People say there's no racism. There is a racism. You can't go. I mean, who dictates what racism is? As Pakistanis, I've seen Pakistanis to be racist. I've seen Indians to be racist. So we can't say the English are racist because they call us Paki or whatever. I certainly don't get offended by it. Okay, Tiki, I'm a Paki. So what? Yeah, it's part of my name.
Own it.
Yeah.
Instead of getting offended.
I don't mind. So. But it's just one of those things where we also, as Pakistanis, if we consider ourselves Pakistanis, we do also name and create names for English people. But we don't see that as racism. We're thinking, oh, that's normal. But it doesn't. But you do face it. I've faced it in the cops. I've faced it in the other departments. I've faced it in the streets. I've faced it everywhere.
But I think the difference comes where there's law and legislation against such activities, like people who are, I wouldn't say like culprits, people who display racism in their daily lives. There is a system in place to reprimand them, to kind of stop this sort of...
Of course there is. I mean, it has to be. You have to have...
But is it effective?
Yeah, to an extent.
Right.
Yes, it is. But again, racism is not one of those things that you are taught or you learn. It's something that you grow up with.
Right. And it happens everywhere in the world.
Everywhere in the world. So you can't just say you're going to change someone's frame of mind by giving them a few lessons here and there. Because they've grown up with it.
You can't force people to change their views about other people, right?
You can't.
But you can place laws which prohibits them from speaking out or acting to their, instincts or the way they are feeling on the inside. So I think that is what the major
just example. If I was to say now the law is you can't put your hand on your face, you'd stop doing it, right?
Probably not.
But if there was a law of that, you would stop doing it. But that doesn't mean you don't want to do it.
I would probably still do it in my own time.
In your own time.
I wouldn't do it
you don't want publicly.
in front of a public or an audience.
Exactly. So that's what it is, basically. Is that the law is there to stop you from doing it or being caught to doing it. But it still exists. You can't change
But has the society progressed there as you've grown older? Have you seen things
there's a lot of cohesion
around you?
Yeah, there's a lot of cohesion programs, and the government does get people involved in a lot of cohesion programs. This is where the Mela comes along, and all that stuff. So it does allow people to change it, but I think it's a long process. It's not a short-term course that you do and all of a sudden your views are changed.
Over a couple of generations at least.
I would say so. I would say so.
And one thing that has happened over the past couple of generations is that a lot of Pakistanis and people of Asian origin, they've really climbed up the ladder in the UK, right? So many entrepreneurs, so many businessmen, professionals, politicians. Indian Prime Minister. You had a Prime Minister who had Rishi Sunak had an Indian origin, and this was kind of unimaginable a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you have the Mayor of London is somebody who's
Sardar Khan.
Sardar Khan. He's a Pakistani, right?
Yeah, heritage. Yeah.
Does that really help? Have those people brought about any real changes, significant changes, or are they just playing safe and being political about their positions and trying to hold on to what they've achieved so far?
I think you've hit the nail on the head on the latter part that you just said, but I think it encourages the generations to come and
to aspire to
become like them more, and maybe bring changes about.
Right.
Remember, a lot of these people now, these are first generation people that have become the first generation that have become in these positions. So they have to be very careful into what...
They can't take too many risks right now.
Absolutely, because that disturbs it for the generations to come. So you've got to be very careful. But I think the generations to come now understand they can achieve the similar positions, but about when they come about, maybe they can start introducing some changes that they think are necessary.
I mean, I know so many youngsters who are doing so well in the UK, researchers in fields of medicine, finance, entrepreneurship, people like you who've set up businesses, taken themselves like global, worldwide. There are still, there's like a huge diaspora, a lot of segments of Pakistani who are living in various parts of the UK, who are not doing a lot of good work, who are not bringing a lot of good name to the origin or to the religion. There's been so much talk about grooming gangs in the UK lately. Is the government doing enough to, tackle this problem? Has it been left to the public to, fend off themselves? What's going on there? What's your perspective on this?
Well, look, what you got to understand is that there's 69 million people live in the UK.
Yeah.
Right? Only 2.7% of those people are Muslims.
Only 2.7%?
Only 2.7% are Muslims, right? Or Asian heritage, if you want to say that. So if you were to consider at the prison, people who've been locked up for sexual offences, I'd say there's about 81% of those are English.
Right. So out of the 2%, 81% of the 2%.
No. So out the population of the sexual people that offenders who've been locked up for sexual offences.
So so
the total
population, Mr. 2% is right.
The cellmates
is Muslim, not just Pakistani.
No. So 81% of the people that have been locked up for sexual offences are white.
81%.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
All right. So you need to think about that. Thinking if
there's more being blown out of proportion, isn't it?
Yes. So there's more white people who are actually committing sexual offences than they're actually Asian. But then again, what you got to look at is out of the people that are being locked up for sexual offences, 5% or maybe just under 5% are Asians. Blacks, right. So if you were to look at the population ratio, 2% Asians, and then about 4% locked up for sexual offences.
Asians, not Muslims, by the way.
Asians, yes.
All,
Asian,
including
yes.
Indians, Pakistanis, just 2%.
Yes.
And out of those 2%, the ones that are in jail for sexual offences, that's, but then 81% are the other ones, so everybody else.
So it is out of proportion,
Right.
But it's just one of those things.
So it's not like a big problem right now. It's something that's been blown out of proportion.
Look, you're in this media forum. What does media sell? They want to sell news.
Stories, something that
right?
gets the eyeballs in.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, it does get blown out of proportion.
Controversy always sells. That is true.
It does sell.
The world has become become connected in so many ways that it's kind of disconnected people as well. Immigrating from Pakistan to the UK, coming back to Pakistan. Everybody in Pakistan wants to go there, but in the recent years, a lot of people from the UK have either wanted to come back to Pakistan or move out somewhere else, Middle East maybe. Is that something that drove you towards starting your own business in Pakistan as well?
No, I mean, there is this vicious circle. I read up the other day, and people from South Asian countries want to go to Gulf countries because that's the easiest way to get out. Once they get there, they want to go to Europe or, and then UK. And once they reach UK, US or Canada, one of these countries, they think, I want to go back to Pakistan.
Right? Comfort zone se bahar ho jata.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
the kids don't want to come back.
Well, no, and that's the problem. And that's the problem. And I see that there's a lot of people that have gone to UK and they've got stuck in this circle of अब पैसे कमाने आए थे, पैसे कमा लिए
अब क्या करें
ठीक है और फिर क्या होता है कि जब पैसे कमाने शुरू कर दिए then they think कि अब बच्चे बड़े हो गए अब बच्चों को एजुकेशन इधर देते हैं
अब ये एक बहुत बड़ा एक चैप्टर है सबकी जिंदगी में यार कि बच्चे बड़े हो गए बच्चों से बड़े होने से ज्यादा उनको इशू होता है उनकी बेटियां बड़ी हो रही होती हैं and that is the time when they start worrying about it.
Yes.
Is it really something that is bothersome, troublesome? Should they really be worried about their kids growing up in that society, and should they want to just quit because their kids are growing up now and they don't want them to be a part of the whole system? How is this?
One of the reasons we decided, right? And I'll tell you, I won't lie to you. And my decision to move to Pakistan was all of a sudden. 3 years ago, roughly, I just woke up one day and I thought, let's move to Pakistan.
Right.
And this was like mid-January.
So it wasn't because of any pressures that you felt societally?
I think they were. They were.
Right.
I wouldn't say they weren't. I think over time you just get overwhelmed with different pressures of societies and so forth. And one of the biggest was, in the UK, schools have introduced that cohesion, inclusion, right? So they were being taught about sexual education at the age of 4 or 5. And that is ridiculous because at 4 or 5, they want to be Iron Man. The boys want to be Iron Man. They're not looking at, am I a boy or a girl?
I want to be a girl. Or
Yeah, they're not looking at that.
So why drive them towards that sort of a mindset or towards thinking?
That's a £1 million question, to be honest. And it's one of those, I think it would get very controversial if I was to answer it. But
you can't really answer it, to be honest. But there's like a huge global movement now against this whole ideology. This whole thing practically came around during COVID, when a lot of people were bored at home and people started thinking and didn't have much to do. And I don't know, critics of this whole movement, like myself, we blame COVID for it. Otherwise, people who are in favor of this, they say that it's always been around. This has been the oppressed class of the society, and now they're coming out and they're taking over. So this whole agenda is deep rooted in that society, and it's one of the reasons you've decided.
I think that was one of the factors. That I said, okay, let's do it. Let's get to Pakistan, and again, it's that circle of. Although we've touched so many topics already in this conversation, and it's that who am I? And although I have a very good understanding of Pakistan and England itself, but my kids don't, and they would never be accepted as, like we said before, as British people, right? So I wanted to give them that feeling
sense of belonging
on the other side, of the other side, and once they do grow up. they can make their own minds. And I won't lie to you now, we've been here roughly now 2.5 years, and my kids don't want to go back.
They don't want to go back.
No.
Yeah.
And the eldest is 15, the second is 13, and they don't want to go back. They say, no, we love it here. And
yeah, why go back? Again, the weather is terrible out there, right? Again, आपकी जो identity है वो हर वक्त there's like so many threats to your identity all the time. यहाँ पे this is one of the things that we enjoy here that people don't enjoy out there is कि यार आपकी identity threat में नहीं है. You're not confused. You're not bombarded by so many cultures at all times. You're very secure about who you are, which kinds of puts us in a very like in a comfort zone as well. कि हम लोग मुसलमान हैं, हम लोग एशियन हैं, हम पाकिस्तान में रह रहे हैं, तो हमें इसको प्रूव करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है या अपने आप को पुश करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है कि हम अच्छे मुसलमान बन जाएं, अच्छे पाकिस्तानी बन जाएं. एज लॉन्ग एज हमारे पास पैसे हैं और थोड़ी सी सोसाइटी में हमारी जान पहचान है, तो वी विल सर्वाइव एंड वी विल थ्राइव. सो दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ सोसाइटी दैट वी लिव इन हियर इन पाकिस्तान, एंड दैट इज one of those things that people want to escape from as well. But when they do escape and when they realize कि हाँ ठीक है अब हम financially sort out हो गए हैं, तो अब हमें वहाँ जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में पाउंड की वैल्यू भी तो बहुत ज़्यादा है.
Absolutely.
आप वहाँ पे 10 पाउंड खर्च करो तो डबल रोटी नहीं आती आप लोग, राइट?
नहीं
वही 10 पाउंड यहाँ करो, आपका हफ्ता गुजर जाता है खर्चे करते. So this is again economics of the whole thing.
It is. I mean, the only downside I would say to Pakistan is welfare and safety.
Yeah, you can buy all of that. I mean, you can get your own security guards, you can get your CCTV, you can, drive around with bodyguards.
Remember, you walk around with 4 bodyguards, someone somewhere will detect that he's got 4 bodyguards, I will take 10 to do damage to him.
ये तो फिर होता है. This is a part of...
And that in the UK is unheard of.
Yeah.
Very rarely you would, if you upset someone, then that would happen. Here, your own family members would do this to just to get to you, and that's scary. Alhamdulillah, I've been okay. We've been okay since we've been in. Again, you have that feeling in the back of your mind कि कब होगा. ये हो सकता है कल हो जाए, परसों हो जाए, next month हो जाए. And
so do you feel that
yeah, of course. I mean, my family are brilliant, alhamdulillah, and so forth. But I still have that sense of insecurity here, in safety wise. How long will I last before something happens?
Right.
And that's the only thing. And in the UK, I don't have that. Right. And here I've got guards.
Last year वहाँ पे कुछ हालात खराब हो गए थे. जिसमें Muslims, particularly Pakistani Muslims, they were kind of scared to go out.
Where's that?
By themselves. UK?
Yeah, but
there was like riots and stuff, and a lot of stuff was going on. I know people who had to go to supermarkets in groups, women especially. कि यार कोई stab कर जाएगा, कोई कुछ कर जाएगा, इस तरह की बातें हो रही थी.
Yeah, I think it was remote.
Yeah?
It wasn't very common.
Right.
ठीक है. Again,
media
sells kind of thing. So
you didn't experience any of that?
No, not of that.
Right.
I mean, my family's been there for donkey's years, and kabhi bhi we've never experienced any of that.
Right.
Hum log kabhi I fear my wife driving here more than I do when she's in the UK.
Right.
And
यहाँ पे कोई rule नहीं है ना road के ऊपर.
Yeah, I see there's a lot. Again, it may get controversial, but people want to attract women to them. Even if it means bumping into him.
Right, yes.
Do you understand?
Attention लेने के लिए कुछ भी करने को.
Yeah, and that's scary because yes, your car bumps into someone or they bump into you, you'll stop, they'll stop, and they'll have that row with you, an argument and whatever, and sort of swap numbers, and next minute they're texting you.
Right.
And alhamdulillah, my wife's not experienced that, but you always have that fear because you hear stories again from other people and they've experienced it. And I'm like, no, I don't want this. I don't want that. Why does it happen here? Why does it need to happen here?
Right.
And that's always been in the back of my mind. And when I'm a father of 3 daughters, again, I'm worried. Okay, when will my daughter experience the abuse from passers-by?
Right.
And that will cause her to feel insecure. And I don't want her to feel insecure. I'm doing my best to make her feel secure, whether that's welfare, education, financial, whatever. I make them feel they are secure. And that's what I'm working hard to do, to provide them that security of belonging in all factors, not just one. But people around me can change that all of a sudden. in one instance, and that really does wind me up.
It does. It concerns all of us, not just you.
Exactly.
Moving back from the UK, all of us here in Pakistan, living here as well. हमें भी इस तरह के issues हैं, and we are all worried for our children and their future as well. But इसके लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं? What can we do?
I mean, there's nothing.
There's nothing that we can do, right? Just prepare them, right? Prepare them, make them strong. Let them know that we are there for them. They can share anything with us, and we'll do whatever we can to protect them, and we do. So I think that's all that we can really do. और ये सिर्फ हमारी society में नहीं है, by the way. आपके यूके में भी I'm sure के औरतों के साथ जिस तरह का रवैया रखा जाता है, not all the time obviously, but there's a lot going on there as well. आप टाउन सेंटर में जब जाते हैं तो there's a lot of controversial figures trying to approach women even when they don't want to be approached. वहाँ भी होता है, ऐसा नहीं है.
I think it's always been a case where you are deprived of something.
Yeah.
And here, men
deprivation ज़्यादा feel होती है.
ज़्यादा feel होती है.
Yeah.
In the UK, there isn't, because you've got nightclubs, you've got clubbings, and they're open for anyone, and it's not hidden.
Yeah.
Whereas in Pakistan, you won't find many nightclubs and clubs and stuff like that.
None,
you know?
absolutely none.
Exactly.
But उस हिसाब से देखा जाए तो deprivation के साथ भी society पे कोई improvement नहीं आ सकी, क्या ना भी यही आप चाह रहे हैं. But चलो उसका एक तरीका ये कि you help people immigrate, help people move out of Pakistan. That's what you do. That's what you do, right? That's what I'm here for now.
Yeah, I mean, I found a solution. I mean, I thought, look.
वहाँ पे जो हमारे पाकिस्तानी हैं वो वहाँ पे अच्छे होके वापस आना चाहते हैं और यहाँ से लोग वहाँ जाना चाहते हैं. So you've given them a bridge there.
Yes.
So how did you come to that point in your life where you thought कि यार okay, let me just start helping people immigrate from here?
You know, it wasn't my intention when I moved. मेरी intention यहाँ पे थी ना कि I'm going to open up an office that's going to support my office in UK.
Right. Resource यहाँ से use होंगे, talent यहाँ पे होगा, but आप services वहाँ पे लोगों को दे रहे हो, remote काम कर रहे हो.
And it was due to one political figure. I won't mention again names, but he encouraged overseas Pakistanis to come back and invest, right? And मैंने कहा चलो ठीक है यार, let's do it, ठीक है, let's invest. And so I came back.
Right.
And majority of my office is youngsters, the below the age of 30.
Right.
But again, it's the views that people have about working. Yaqeen karo ke I've never been so frustrated in my life than I have in the last 2.5 years when I go to the office.
Right.
Seriously.
Right.
You tell them to do something, they'll do it when they feel the time is right, not when the company thinks it's right to do it.
ये तो यार ये तो एक मसला है. This is a prevalent problem, or it's not just you who's experiencing it. Everybody's experiencing it everywhere. के जो younger resource है वो थोड़ा सा जरा नखरीला ज़्यादा है काम के मामले में. They don't get down with the work.
Zin, the problem is not the kids, it's the parents, it's the guardians.
Right.
I personally believe they are the ones to blame, because as parents or guardians, we always feel कि मैंने साइकिल पे किया ना तो मेरा बेटा बाइक पे जाएगा, मैंने बाइक चलाई है तो मेरा बेटा गाड़ी पे करेगा, ठीक है. And that's always been the problem. I think that's the problem here, कि इतना हम उनको लाड दे देते हैं ना.
बट ये अभी ये हम लोग ज्यादा कर रहे हैं.
हाँ, हम लोग कर रहे हैं.
ये मिलेनियल्स ने बच्चों को इतना प्यार देना शुरू किया था. उससे पहले जो बूमर्स थे वो इतना प्यार नहीं करते थे बच्चों से. They weren't scared of their kids like we are now.
and this is the problem. We've been scared of our parents, and now we're scared of the kids. So we're that generation के जो हम फंस गए बीच में, ठीक है. And unfortunately, the kids have realized that. कि अगर आज उनको बोलूँगा ना कि आप फायर्ड हो, वो घर जाएंगे ना और घर में निकाल गए. कोई डर नहीं कुछ. मैंने कहा पहले स्टोरी सुनाई, मैं जूता देखा था कि तुम काम करोगे, उस लाइक दोस्त ये घर जाके फकर से बताएंगे आज हमें निकाल दिया, क्यों निकाल दिया, वो मैंने काम नहीं. ओ खैर है बेटा, कोई नहीं, बैठो यहाँ पे एक और मिल जाएगी. और फिर अम्मी जो है वो खीर बना के लेके आती है. हाँ, खीर खाओ, ठीक है. हाँ, and that's the problem कि my daughters 13 or 15, they know how to change a car tire, ठीक है.
Amazing.
They don't drive. I am teaching them to drive here and there, but they know how to do it. I said, why? Because you don't need to depend on anyone.
It's a life skill.
It's a life skill.
Life skill है.
And we're taking those skills away.
कल किसी situation में हो, तो they don't need to like start calling people. They can just do it themselves. If they're 13, 15, I think in the next 10 years or so, driving is going obsolete. By the way, आपकी self-driven cars जो हैं, they're gonna take over. Driving खत्म हो जाएगी. So आपके तो बच्चे थोड़े बड़े हैं, मेरे बच्चे अभी छोटे हैं. I don't know if my kids are ever gonna drive. kind of worried.
Well, it's scary though, isn't it? It's scary.
This whole AI business.
Yeah, it is. I mean, AI is another again. One of the things I tell my staff is that majority of your roles will become AI in the future. What are you going to do? I even had it's a charity that come from the UK and they're doing some work in Sindh areas and Lahore area. And the people that have actually come over, they're British Bengalis, Bangladeshis, and good friends of mine. So they came to see me yesterday.
Right.
You know, when you called me up to remind me about yesterday. So I took him out, and it was one of those things. We were talking about AI, and I said that one of the guys works in a restaurant, and I said, "You work in a restaurant. What do you do?" He goes, "Smash burgers." I said, "What's it like?" He goes, "Easy as anything." Right? Okay. I said, "Why? Brilliant." So I said, "So what's your next step? What were you thinking?" "No, nothing. It's brilliant. It's going well. Probably open a franchise." And I was okay. What next? And that's it. And he had no plans. And I said, "Dude, AI is the forefront. You go to AI and tell him, I want to make a roti. They'll tell you every single part of how to make a roti, how to make a dough." Take it. So, and I said, you've got dough mixers, you've got roti makers, you've got other equipment that can do it. So why not put them together? So that smash burger that you make, what makes you think that when someone places an order, in a few years' time, AI will take the order, will tell the machine, this is the order, the machine will make the burger.
Burger to perfection. Really.
Perfection.
Koi isme human
No error.
nahi hoga, there's no errors there.
Exactly. Pristine amount of salad, exact amount of sauces, and it'll package it, put it into a parcel box, boom, out. The driver's waiting, or even AI driver.
Yeah, deliveries
waiting.
Sorry, deliveries भी अब AI
delivery हो रही है.
आपके drones चीजें deliver कर रहे हैं यार.
Why not look into that?
Yep.
And I said, why not? And he goes, oh, yeah.
I didn't think of it.
No, I said, dude, this is what you need to be looking at, because in 10 years' time, a lot of these roles will be taken by
Absolutely.
AI.
Everything from podcasting to curating events to creating content, everything is now driven by AI, or podcasting mein khatam hone wali. So this is why I want to get in as many shows as we can.
That's a good thinking.
Absolutely. Abhi to aap ye kar sakte ho ki you just take somebody's LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
There's a Google tool, by the way.
Yeah.
Just feed that link into that thing and ask it to make a two people podcast around it. Click. Free tool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name it because it'll probably kill my show. But yeah, this is all happening, man.
Yeah.
And abhi tak, every single guest that I've had on my show so far, we've spoken about AI. We've touched upon AI in one way or another because it affects everybody.
Of course it does.
Everyone. And if you're not thinking about it, if you're not worried, or if you're not wondering, then you're not really...
There's always been a scare of change, isn't it? I mean, जब smartphones निकले थे, ठीक है, people like इस पे cameras हैं, वो आपको देख सकते हैं, वो आपकी बात सुन सकते हैं.
Yeah, but smartphone तक बड़े gradually पहुंचे हम लोग, right? हमें पहले एक normal landline phone था. हम घर में 5 घरों में एक phone होता था, right? उसके बाद public phone booths आना शुरू हुए, then public call offices आए, उसके बाद आपके personal घर में हर का phone आना शुरू हो गया, then उसके बाद phones wireless होना शुरू हुए, ओए cable के बगैर phone है, right? So slowly and steadily you moved up this chain of technology. जब आप wireless phone से actual truly wireless पे आ गए, and then you mobile पे आ गए, and then mobile they were like a big phone, and then it shrunk into smaller phones, and then smaller phones में screen grayscale पे आई, bigger grayscale screen, and then bitmap से आप graphics पे आना शुरू हो गए, colored screen आई. So it has been a slow and gradual journey towards where we are right now, where we're talking about flip phones and like bendable phones and imaginary phones. Now there's going to be chips in your head. We know where this is going. Yeah. AI kind of crept out of nowhere. We'd seen it on movies, science fiction में हमने देखा था कि जी AI आनी है, and one day the whole world got to see कि अच्छा जी ChatGPT आ गया. That was, I think, the day this world changed forever. Yeah. I remember my friend who introduced ChatGPT to me कि यार ये कल ये चीज़ tool release हुआ तो check किया, मैंने कहा नहीं dude, I had no idea. But now everybody knows ChatGPT. Everybody knows कि आपके DeepSeek क्या है.
Yeah.
And everybody's using it now. I bet you use that as well.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, again, when we talk about DeepSeek, again, ChatGPT came out, offered it free for a period. Now they're charging for extra premium amount.
Up to
extra
$200.
Exactly.
उसका professional top of the line account $200 ले रहे हैं. And then
DeepSeek
can do
कहता यार मैं मुफ्त देता हूँ.
Practically the same thing for literally nothing.
Nothing, exactly.
That's crazy, man. And this evolution is happening right in front of us. 2 साल में हम कहाँ से कहाँ पहुँच गए.
बिल्कुल.
So I can't even imagine कि अगले 10 साल में कहाँ पे हम लोग होंगे. I have no idea.
Yeah, look, I talk about this, and I'm already working in my team. I've got a group of app developers, and we're going to be turning our profession into AI.
There you go.
And people say,
Taking
you're
away
going to
your
be
own
taking our
jobs.
jobs. Well, yeah, people say that. You're going to be taking our jobs away.
Yeah.
And I think if I don't do it, someone else will. So don't think that I am doing it, taking your jobs away. It's just the fact that it's going to happen, right? So if you need an interpreter, and which is my main profession, I do provide interpreter and translator service in the UK, people will use AI because it's cheap. And
There's no way around it.
No,
There's
there
no
isn't.
way around it.
There isn't. So they will.
Tell me about the immigration trends that, since you're in the business, where do you see this immigration trend going in the next 10 years? People moving from Pakistan under any particular skills, any particular segments of society moving there too much, students going to the UK more than they were 10 years ago. What do you think is going to happen? What do you forecast?
It's very hard to predict. Yeah. It's very hard to predict. I mean,
what are the trends right now?
At the moment, booming. People are leaving, whether they're going through
people
study
are leaving
visas,
any which way they
permits.
can, right?
Yeah, anyway. I mean, people come up saying, visit visas, and they said, okay, क्या करने जा रहे हैं? सर आपको पता है? मैंने कहा, okay, बताया तो सही. सर आपको पता है, कोई visit के लिए जाता तो नहीं है ना? तो so they're finding any way of getting out of the country. Few years ago, it was the opposite. Like myself, we were moving back to get investing money here, and now it's the opposite. And I'm still here though. I don't care. And the reason I came to the UK, like I said, I want to invest in youngsters to develop them. Personally, I believe that agar aap crore rupees deke bahar ja rahe ho na, you can invest that money here. Even for example, let's say burger stand. ठीक है, 220 का 200 का बर्गर आप बेचते हो, शामी जो कहते हैं, अंडा बर्गर कहते हैं, ठीक है, आप 200 का बेचते हो, दिन में आप 50 बेचोगे, ठीक है, आप खुद हिसाब लगा लो आप कितने आप कमा रहे हो, राइट? अगर 200 आप बेच रहे हो 50 के, तो आप तकरीबन 20,000 कमा रहे हो, ठीक है, सॉरी 10,000 कमा रहे हो, ठीक है, दिन के. Now, if you were to do that for 30 days, that's a lot. I mean, that's 3 लाख आप कमा रहे हो, ठीक है, उसमें से आपका खर्चा कितना है, लाख निकाल लो, ठीक है.
Yeah, that is where it gets a little controversial. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in our ground reality जो है कि if it is just about these numbers, then that looks really good, right? But on ground जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं, they can't really predict कि वो बाकी 200 burgers महीने में बेच पाएंगे और जो पैसे आ रहे हैं वो सारे उनकी जेब में जाएंगे.
क्यों नहीं? There's no overheads.
Competition,
there's no overheads.
Laws and legislation to protect them. I don't know, taxation. There's just so much going on.
The burger vans, the burgers, they don't have any taxations. They're not registered at NTN numbers.
But in Pakistan?
In Pakistan,
who would register? Major cities में तो करना पड़ता.
किधर यार? किधर आप देखो?
I'm pretty sure क्योंकि हमारे जो tax officers हैं, they live in the same cities as well, right? So you can't set up a business without getting a visit from one of these, tax agents.
Yes.
Within the first couple of months. I know this firsthand.
लेकिन आपको ही पता है, मुझे ही पता है. There's ways around it.
But that is where the difference lies, ना? कि society में ways around it is the only way forward. Is this the best way to invest your 1 crore रुपया?
No, Zin, what you're looking at is ये हम लोग करना नहीं चाहते. प्रॉब्लम ये है,
हम बाहर जाके करने के लिए तैयार हैं.
हम बाहर करने के लिए तैयार हैं.
किसी के लिए करने के लिए तैयार हैं, अपने लिए हम नहीं कर सकते.
हम नहीं करेंगे.
वो क्या फैक्टर्स हैं, क्यों नहीं करेंगे? सोशल फैक्टर्स. यार कोई देख लेगा कि वो स्टॉल लगाया हुआ है, तो यार मेरी
इज्जत खराब हो जाएगी, मेरे घर वाले क्या होंगे, क्या बोलेंगे, पड़ोसी क्या बोलेंगे, दूर के रिश्तेदार, ससुराल वाले क्या बोलेंगे. And it's always been the case in Pakistan कि we're very very let's say scared of our social values, कि हमारे बारे में लोग क्या सोचेंगे. And
यार मगर ये जो हमारे कल्चर के बड़ा एक सिग्निफिकेंट पार्ट है, ये इतना वरी करना अपने दूसरे के बारे में. ये यूके में जो हम लोग पाकिस्तानी हैं, वहाँ पे ये चीज़ ज़्यादा नहीं है हमारे से
कि लोग हमारे
वरी अबाउट देयर ओन फैमिली मेंबर्स. वो क्या कर गया, फलां कहाँ चला गया, वो मैं उसे देखे ऐसी.
नो लुक,
उधर भी तो है.
हम लोग जेलस बहुत है, लेकिन हम लोग अपने बारे में नहीं देखते कि हम अगर ये कर लेंगे ना हम किधर पहुँच जाएंगे. हम लोग दूसरों को देख के जेलस बहुत होते हैं. वही बात है ना कि फ्रिज आया, हमें फ्रिज चाहिए.
ये देख लूं कि हम लोग ना पाकिस्तान में एज अ सोसाइटी देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ progression that I've seen in the past like 20 years, and I've had friends and family living in the UK, और वहाँ का जो culture है, they've kind of stuck to the values that we had 30-40 साल पहले, right? और जो क्लोज नेटेड वहाँ पे हमारी कम्युनिटीज़ हैं मुस्लिम्स की और ये वो वहाँ पे जिस तरीके से हमारी यहाँ की वैल्यूज़ को अपहोल्ड करने के लिए लोग एफर्ट करते हैं या फैमिली को सपोर्ट करने के लिए या कुछ बुरी बातें भी जो हमारी सोसाइटी में थी जो लोग साथ लेकर गए हैं वो अभी भी वहाँ पर प्रेवलेंट हैं, वो यहाँ पे उतनी नहीं रही. Have you also noticed this कि हम लोग पाकिस्तान में थोड़े ज़्यादा प्रोग्रेस कर गए हैं compared to our brother in the UK?
In what sense?
सोसाइटी वाइज वही फिक्र करना एक दूसरे की सोच के यार आइडेंटिटी क्राइसिस यहाँ पे हमें नहीं है, वहां पर होता है एवरी डे ऑल द टाइम. और आइडेंटिटी प्रिजर्व रखने के चक्कर में बहुत सारी ऐसी नेगेटिव बातें भी हैं जो कि हमारी पाकिस्तानी सोसाइटी से खत्म हो गई, वहां पर अभी भी चल रही हैं. रिश्ते करना फॉर इंस्टेंस, शादियां करने का, जहां पे इतनी आज़ादी पाकिस्तान में लोगों को शादी करने के लिए है उतनी ही आज़ादी यूके में है वहाँ पे पाकिस्तानी लड़कियों को वहाँ पे शादी करने के लिए.
No, but this is again, you got to remember the generations that have gone over. अब पाकिस्तान में education आम हो रही है.
हाँ.
ठीक है. And education से people are becoming a lot more aware of values of all sorts. When those people have gone to the UK, let's say a few decades ago, they were illiterate, majority of them.
हाँ.
ठीक है. So they never had that. They're still in that frame of mind.
चीज, that's what I'm saying. कि वो जो एक generation यहाँ से move करी थी 50s में 60s में, the values that they had then, most of them are still holding on to the same values. While we here in Pakistan, at least in the major cities, we've kind of moved on from them. थोड़ी सी यहाँ पे relaxation ज़्यादा आ गई है, you know, when it comes to building relationships or maintaining them or choosing careers for or like actually like choosing way to live, stuff like that. वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा अभी difficulty इस तरह की मैंने देखी है लोगों के बीच में. And this whole trend about Pakistanis wanting to move there and people over there wanting to move back, ये अभी पिछले 5 साल में कुछ ज़्यादा हो गया है because of the same I think mindset के यार वहाँ पे freedom तो है but still sense of belonging नहीं आ रही. Abhi, since you're in the business and you've seen so many people migrate from there, what is the biggest challenge that people face when they, in this day and age, when they move to the UK from Pakistan? What should people be aware of or be wary of when they want to move?
I always tell them, one thing I tell them is कि यहाँ से कोई सारे ties ना काट के जाओ. मतलब कि always have some tie here, right?
Right.
What a lot of people are doing is selling their houses, selling their lands, just to afford to go to the UK or whatever.
करोड़ रुपए इकट्ठे करने के लिए लोग सब कुछ बेच के जा रहे हैं.
Yes. And that means they're cutting ties with Pakistan,
right?
Because they've got nothing to return to. ठीक है.
And ties, I think people अपने रिश्ते तो छोड़ के जा रहे हैं ना सारे.
Yeah, exactly. And वहाँ जब जा रहे हैं ना, they're struggling, क्योंकि they never realized how hard it is to live there and to earn working there. Because यहाँ पे आप कोक की बोतल अगर मैं again it's not going to be an accurate one but just an example कि कोक की बोतल यहाँ पे आप जो छोटी बोतल पीते हैं maybe 150 rupees maybe, ठीक है, whereas in the UK it's going to cost you around about £1.50, so which is again roughly about 500 rupees, ठीक है. So in ratio value you could have three maybe Coke or 4 maybe Coke bottles here than you get it when I have one in the UK. So it's hard to earn the money. ठीक है. But so the people don't realize that. लेकिन लोग ये कहते हैं यार हम sacrifice करके जा रहे हैं अपने future generations के लिए. But what happens there is once they get there, because now they've got to start earn करते रहते हैं, they're not paying attention to their kids. So the kids are now lost as well. Now they were here, all of a sudden they're over there, and now mixing with kids that have been there for many years, and they want themselves to be accepted by others. ठीक है. Other kids, so they do things even more worse than the other kids are doing just to be accepted.
Right.
Okay? And the parents are not aware of it. And so I always tell them, look, if you are going to go over, first thing, don't cut any ties. क्योंकि कभी भी आपको वापस आना पड़े यहाँ पे आप आ सको. Second of all, you're going because of your kids. Don't forget that. You're going because of your children. You're taking your children with you. Don't lose ties with them. Because you go and work there, you will start working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and you won't have time for him.
Right.
So, and that is going to be a major, major fault for you guys. And I see that now. 4, 5 years, 3 years, 5 years. I've seen a lot of people who are like, damn, we made a mistake. We had a good lifestyle here. I've seen people from embassies who were on 7-8 lakh rupees, gone over there, and now they're working doing deliveries and so forth. And
economy is not thriving there either.
No, it's not.
There are a lot of problems there. Inflation is like sky high, all-time high चल रही है.
Yes.
Cost of living बहुत ज़्यादा है.
Yeah.
I know because I've never really lived there, but I visit quite often and I realize कि यार जो मुझे लंदन अंडरग्राउंड का डे पास 3 पाउंड का मिलता था वो 12-13 पाउंड का हो गया भाई. It's insane.
And salaries नहीं बढ़ी हैं. Salaries
नहीं बढ़ी हैं. Obviously वहाँ पे उस हिसाब से I think ये gives us like a global movement. ये जो forces at play जो हैं इन्होंने सबको एक ही तरह से रखा हुआ है. We're all being kept in check, of course. कोई रेड फ्लैग्स हैं आपकी नज़र में कुछ ऐसे लोगों के लिए कि जो who want to immigrate, who want to move, and stories तो बहुत सुनी होंगी आपने कि यार लोगों को स्कैम हो गया, बहुत लोग स्कैम करें. कोई रेड फ्लैग्स बताएं यार कि जो एक आम आदमी जिसके बारे में वेरी हो कि यार इस चीज से मुझे बचना चाहिए.
यार इस कॉमन सेंस
बहुत कम है भाई.
बहुत कम है, लेकिन मैं लोगों को कहता हूँ ना यार कॉमन सेंस की चीज़ देखो. अब मेरे उस दिन बंदे का फ़ोन आया, वो कहता है यार सऊदी अरेबिया में मेरे बेटे को ऑफ़र हो रही है, इमिग्रेशन ऑफिसर उसने ऑफ़र की है, 12,000 रुपये सऊदी रियाल की जॉब है, ठीक है, एंड 40 आवर्स उसने काम करने होंगे हफ्ते में, और जो वीज़ा है वो 40 लाख का है, 4 लाख का है, ठीक है, 4 million, 400,000. And I'm thinking, okay, तो 12,000 की
ये तो the math doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, and they're adamant कि यार नहीं ये सही genuine है. वो सिर्फ अभी 90,000 रुपीस मांग रहा है, कहता है लाख जब आपका वर्क परमिट आ जाएगा फिर बकाया जो 2,10,000 है वो आप जब वीज़ा इशू होगा.
चलो let's just narrow down the question कि what should somebody look for in a good immigration agent that they want to work with?
Honesty. And it's very hard.
How can one tell if the person is being honest? मतलब बस perception के ऊपर ही चलें या उनके कोई credentials होने चाहिए, कोई something else that we can look at?
I think word of mouth as well.
Reputation
कैसी है, and not just from social media, but from word of mouth. ठीक है कि आपका अजीज उनके थ्रू गया है या उन्होंने उससे सर्विसेज कोई ली है कुछ हद तक, and they've been accurate and good.
हाँ, आई थिंक यही चेक मोस्टली लोग रख रहे होते हैं. अदरवाइज कि इंस्टाग्राम पे लोगों के एड्स आते हैं हर वक्त कि
यार लोग
इमिग्रेट कर जाओ.
आपने देखी होंगे टिकटॉक पे वीडियोस देखी होंगी एंड सोशल्स पे देखी होंगी कि अब इटली आए और इटली में आपको 50,000 यूरोस भी देंगे, मकान भी देंगे और जॉब भी देंगे,
रेड कार्पेट बिछाएंगे आपके लिए, आप आए तो सही,
आए
पैसे भी कोई नहीं लग रहे,
नहीं लग रहे आपके
पैसे वहाँ पहुँचने के बाद दीजिएगा.
यार मैं कहता हूँ यार भाई मुझे बताओ, I'll go over. कोई नहीं, मैंने टॉयलेट भी साफ की है.
So if it's too good to be true, it is probably false.
Probably. I always say to him, look, if you're one of your Aziz किसी ने service इस्तेमाल की है ना, then use them, right?
Right. और अगर Aziz की नहीं की तो then wait for somebody else to go through the grind first.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, पहले देखो यार, do the figures work out? Do they add up?
Right.
ठीक है. For me, I've been consulting now for the last 2 years. और मेरा ये इरादा नहीं था, मैंने कहा था कि आया था यहाँ पे just to open my back end office to my thingy.
Right.
Immigration मैंने सिर्फ start किया because of my background. लोगों ने कहा यार
You understand? I know how totally how it goes. कि आपकी knowledge है, and then people expect you to, like help them out in any way. Look at your application. Yes. Please suggest क्या करना चाहिए. Immigration policies आजकल बड़ी नरम हुई हुई हैं, बता सकते हैं. So when you're in it, might as well do it.
Well, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. मैंने करना शुरू किया, and for the last year and a half, I've consulted over maybe 500 people, and only I'd say few tens of those people are my customers that I've actually paid for my services. I've never asked for it, ever asked for the consultation fees or anything at all, because I've made a name for myself now. Okay, उनको अच्छा लग रहा है कि यार Nauman's made a name for himself, and he's the one to go to. Even yesterday, my sister, one of my immigration consultant assistants, she rang and said, "Mumbai, there's a lady, and she wants to go from Pakistan to San Francisco,
right?
And she's got U.S. passport, U.S. citizen, and she wants us to book her tickets." I said, we don't do that. We're not travel agents.
Right.
कहती है कि she got US passport, US citizen, तो फिर क्या काम मसला है? हम तो we're immigration advisors. तो वो कहती है कि नहीं, we don't trust anyone. We trust Nauman bhai. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to become a travel agent now just because you trust me. Tell her to go on a website, book a ticket and go.
भाई से फिर लोग रिश्ते की भी बात करेंगे
यार. I'll become uncle, रिश्ता uncle है सुना. अब देखते हैं ना मिसेस खान की वेबसाइट आगे पीछे मेरा लगा होगा यार मिस्टर खान के पास जाए यार.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to work. I can't do everything. But it's just one of those things.
But maybe you can do everything. You've also been on the radio and you also host events. Tell me something about that. Something.
That's just a hobby. It started off with an Islamic radio channel. They were advertising one day, and I thought,
oh right,
yeah.
Okay.
So now
वहाँ पे तो होता है, UK में ऐसे होता है.
यार, let me give it a go. And उनको call की, कहते हैं आजो, and then I did my voice check and all that stuff.
And then you realized, okay, मैं इससे बेहतर कर सकता हूँ.
So मैंने कहा, let's do it. And I started off with the morning show. And that was actually gave me a Friday evening show first. And I really enjoyed it, really did, right. Engaging with the listeners and so forth. But उसके बाद क्या हुआ कि I went to the morning show, started doing the morning show, and then there was another radio station, they approached me, but they were not Islamic, they were more Bollywood music and so forth.
Which is pop culture there, वहाँ पे it works.
And I said, fine, I'm not.
So you need a wider audience, sure.
Yeah, so I wasn't doing it because it's an Islamic channel, I was just doing it because I wanted to do radio. Yeah, so मैं आगे इस तरफ आ गया. And then after that, then TV आ गया and so forth and started hosting melas and stuff like that.
There's this mela that you host regularly.
Yes.
It's like a
Berry Mela.
Berry Mela. Tell me about that. I've been there once, by the way.
Really?
Before. I've been there once.
Wow.
Berry Park mein tha ye.
Right.
It was like 15 years ago.
Right, okay. No, they just approached me and said, look, we're going to do this. And I hosted a few of their events. The people who organize this, BAME, it's a charity, they do it. And I hosted a few of their events, and they enjoyed it. And they're like, we love you, hosting and stuff. I said, okay. So then we could do a Mela. So will you host that as well? And I said, yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
And I love it. And from then, people just call me over and say, can you host our shows? Can you host our events? You know what? I'll tell you a secret now, and maybe it'll come out on socials, and people might approach me. Maybe a selling point here. But I came to Pakistan. I thought, I want to get into something like this in Pakistan. I want to become the next friggin' drama actor and stuff like that.
Why not?
Well, I was wanting to.
Absolutely, man.
So, I'll do something like that. Something like that, and I'll enjoy it because I've worked hard, and I'm still working hard, but I still want to enjoy myself. So on Sundays, every Sunday I play cricket. I've made my own team, the ex-British High Commission team.
You guys are still playing?
Oh, we're still playing. I'm still keeping it going, man. Still keeping it going.
Right.
So I believe play hard, but work hard, but play hard as well. You need to have that downtime.
So what is the key to that? How do you balance everything? You got so many roles. You travel so much. You're a family man. You're a showman. You have businesses. You have properties. You have so many people to deal with. How do you balance everything? How do you keep your sanity? By just your Sundays, or is it something on a daily basis?
No, not daily basis. I used to go to the gym. There was a point where I dropped the kids off at school and go to the gym for an hour and then come home and breakfast with Mrs. Mum and Dad or whoever it was around. But I've stopped doing that for the last few months. But I think for me, it's a point where just knowing I've achieved something is enough for me. To be recognised is enough for me. But cricket on a Sunday downtime is what I believe in. Any person that works hard and achieves their objectives, they need to have that downtime.
In a Pakistan and England cricket match, who are you going to support? Who do you support?
That is a controversial. I'll probably get this controversial now. If I was to be 100% truthful, it's always been Pakistan.
Always been Pakistan. Acha.
Yes, always been Pakistan.
Right.
But something always made me choose England. England, choose England. I don't know why. But
you being politically correct?
No, I think England's given me more of my life. More to my life than Pakistan has. So although I think Pakistan always came because I was born here, but England's given me more to my life than Pakistan has. So that's why I think.
Would you have been the same person or similar person if you hadn't moved to England?
No, I would never.
The opportunities that you had there.
Zin, I'll tell you now. I mean, I was talking to my mamu the other day, and he came from the UK, and we went back to the villages where we belong. And my paternal cousins, some of are driving chinchis, some have got a local shop, they call it hatti, in our language. And I look at them and I thought, I could have easily been one of them. It's just
and you are one of them, but
well, no,
you had different opportunities, so you've turned out differently,
yeah.
but you are basically one of them, but
yeah.
you turn out well.
Yeah. I mean, I won't say they're not well, but in their own way, they probably think they've done well as well. But
your measures of success are different.
Yes, my measurement of success are different. For their success, maybe something different. Mine is different.
Absolutely.
But I think I've been given the opportunities to do things on a bigger scale than they have. So I wouldn't say I'm special. मैं ये कहूँगा कि यार कि life throws opportunities at you, grab them. ठीक है? Don't think
Just
twice.
know कि आपके दरवाजे पे जो knock आ रही है, उसको respond करना चाहिए और कैसे करना चाहिए. Knock आती रहती है, अक्सर आती रहती है. Nauman, this was awesome.
Thank you, sir.
I had a wonderful time, and I wish you all the best. And I hope that some producers are watching this right now. Give this man a shot. He's brilliant, and I would love to do this again sometime.
Absolutely, love to.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Zin. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
This is the show where I speak to professionals, corporate leaders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, कुछ ऐसे लोग जो कि आपके इर्द गिर्द हैं और बहुत कुछ नया कर रहे हैं, कुछ तब्दीलियां ला रहे हैं, कुछ दुनिया को सिखा रहे हैं, और इस शो के ज़रिए मैं और आप उन लोगों से भी कुछ ना कुछ सीख सकते हैं. सो इफ़ यू मेड दिस फार इनटू द वीडियो, देन प्लीज़ लाइक, शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब, ताकि हम आपके लिए इस तरह के और भी मज़ेदार इंटरव्यूज़ लेकर आ सकें. थैंक यू.